Tesla posted a surprise profit in quarter 3 of 2019, and the question that we'll be answering in today's video is, will Tesla be profitable in quarter 4 of 2019? I'm Jonathan Stewart, and welcome to Cleanerwatt. For Tesla to be profitable in quarter 4 2019, there are multiple things that need to happen. Obviously, deliveries need to be up, and solar and energy storage needs to be up. But there's also something else that we got a little taste of in the quarter 3 earnings, and that is the full self-driving income. So if you were listening to the conference call, or if you read the shareholder letter, you may have noticed that they mentioned that they have $500 million of full self-driving income in reserves. They were able to realize $30 million of this in the quarter 3 earnings, and that did help boost the margins for their automotive products. But they still have $500 million in income reserves. Now, the only way that they can realize this income is if they release more features, and it's very possible, and I predict, that they will release more city full self-driving features, like being able to recognize stop lights and stop at them, and stop signs, etc. They'll be able to realize more of that income by releasing those features in future versions of software 10 of the software they're using in the cars there. And then there is this side chance, and we'll talk about a quote that in a second, but there is a side chance that they may be feature complete for full self-driving at the end of the year. It seems like a little bit of a stretch, but Elon Musk did say in the opening comments of the quarter 3 conference call this year, and this is a quote from him, "While it's going to be tight, it still does appear that we will be at least in early access release of feature complete full self-driving feature this year." So it's not for sure, but it appears to be on track for at least an early access release of a fully functional full self-driving by the end of this year. Obviously, he says it's not for sure, but he feels like there's a good chance that they may be able to release to at least a limited release to early access people the full self-driving features. That means they may be able to realize some of that $500 million of income, and that would help them post a profit in quarter 4. Now, I want to make some predictions. As I mentioned, in order for them to post a profit, obviously that full self-driving income could play into this. But another really important and the most important factor is their deliveries. How many vehicle deliveries will Tesla make in quarter 4 of 2019? Well, first of all, I want to look at quarter 1 through quarter 3 of 2019 and the total cumulative numbers that they have delivered. So far, all the models combined, they have delivered 255,552 vehicles. That's Model S, 3, and X combined. You can see there the numbers for those. That's through quarter 3, 2019. Now, if they're going to hit their guidance, which Tesla has mentioned that they thought they could deliver between 360,000 and 400,000 vehicles in 2019 full year. This was pulled directly from the quarter 2 letter, earnings letter, and they mentioned and talked about the guidance there. In order for them to hit this, they need to deliver at least 105,000 vehicles in quarter 4. Now, where we're sitting right now, the Fremont factory, where all their vehicles are manufactured, really can't put out much more than 96 or 97,000 units per quarter, I should say. 96 to 97,000 units per quarter is kind of the limit there. That's kind of where they've been the last couple quarters, and they haven't been able to really get much above that. It's very impressive for that factory, but they need more than that. Now, where they can get that extra number is the fact that the Gigafactory 3 in China, Shanghai, is actually starting to produce cars in limited numbers, and I believe in the next coming weeks we will see those cars going out to the Chinese market. The Chinese market they have pre-sold a lot of these vehicles in the Chinese market. It's going to be their lower cost standard range Model 3 that they're going to be putting out first out of that factory, and it's going to allow them to produce more cars than they would be able to with just one factory, and that's going to allow them to get to this number, I believe. So my predictions and projections for the Q4 sales are 9,000 Model S's, 87,000 Model 3s, and 9,000 Model X's. Of course, this is globally. I do think that the average selling price for their vehicles will stay somewhere around the same as it did in Q3 of 2019. I think it's pretty much stabilized at the moment with their current operations and with their current way that they're selling their vehicles globally. So this is my prediction, and if they can hit this 105,000 deliveries, based on what they've been doing, I think that's another reason that would make it easy for them to post a profit in Q4 of 2019. Another thing that will help them, and this is something that they've been really good at the last few quarters, is their operational efficiencies. So if you looked at the numbers for the Q3 earnings, they mentioned that their operation spending was down 16% year to date. Now keep in mind, this is at the same time that they're growing their team and that they are also building out factories, a factory I should say, and they are producing new vehicles and developing new vehicles and new technologies, but yet their operation spending is down 16%. This is really key, and this is going to allow them to produce even greater profit than they would have if they were not doing this. And so that's another big factor that's going to lead to these operational efficiencies. And then of course, the Tesla energy growth, we started seeing this past quarter Tesla Energy actually growing again, and they just launched Generation 3 of the solar roof, which I believe will sell really well as they're able to produce more of those in Gigafactory 2. And then their energy storage is also starting to grow again. So if you looked at the numbers for Q3, they had 477 megawatt hours of energy storage deployed, and that's up from 415 of the previous quarter. And they had 43 megawatts of solar installed, and compared that to the previous quarter of 2019. So there is growth again in the Tesla Energy, and that's going to be a little piece of their profitable Q4 and in my projections. So I wanted to take just a moment here and to look at some actual numbers from an income statement without added full self-driving income. So this is if they do not realize any extra income with full self-driving. You see the numbers there that were actually reported in Q3 of 2019, and this is what I project for Q4 of 2019. And so you'll see there that these numbers are in millions. So $5.7 billion of automotive revenues is what I'm projecting. And that's basically just simply taking the average selling price of the vehicles, which was that $55,100 I predict, times 105,000 vehicles gets you that $5.78 billion. And it's hard to predict regulatory credits, but I just assumed that those would stay about the same and that the profit margin would stay about the same. I just rounded it up to 23%, and that would give them a 1.3 billion automotive gross profit, or that 23% gross margin. So I think that's very realistic. They could even beat these numbers, but that's very realistic. That would give them a total revenue of 7.2 billion and a total gross profit of 1.37 billion, or a total GAAP gross margin of 19%. I predict, because of this, they're in that bottom line, that there could very possibly report a net income or GAAP income, generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP income of $207 million. And this is even without added full self-driving income. Now, if we were to get really bullish and say that they're going to realize full self-driving income, this number could very possibly go to 307 million and beyond. They very well, and I think it would be somewhat conservative to say that they could release more city features and realize somewhere around $100 million of full self-driving income by the end of the year, and that would make my prediction somewhere around $307 million of profit. Now, you might be asking, what about CapEx spending, capital expenditures for all the new things they're building out? There are the Model Y preparations in Fremont, the China-Shanghai build-out, the Tesla truck, the Semi, and of course the Roadster. And there's several things. The Model Y preparations in Fremont are going very well, and you see the quote from the Q3 shareholder letter that they have dramatically improved the pace of execution and capital efficiency of new production lines, mentioning there that China-Shanghai was 65% less expensive to build than the Model 3 production in the US. Of course, they've learned how to be efficient, so the Model Y preparations in Fremont are much less expensive than they would have been if they were doing this last year. Of course, the China-Shanghai build-out is locally financed with low interest in the local banks there in China, so that's not really a drag on their income right now. The Tesla truck really won't be built I assume until 2021. Of course, that hasn't even been released yet here in early November, but it should be by the end of this year, at least what it looks like, so we'll be able to see that. The Semi is supposed to have some limited production in late 2020, but that's not going to cost a lot of money in this quarter, in my opinion. And of course, the Roadster has been pushed back to at least 2021 for that, so not a lot of money going out there. So my thing is, I don't think CapEx spending is going to increase a lot in Q4, and so I don't think that will drag down the numbers and change my predictions. So in conclusion of this video, I am predicting, and I want to go on record of predicting, that Tesla will post a GAAP profit of between $200 and $300 million in Q4 of 2019. I think this is not unrealistic. I think this is very plausible, and I think I've laid out a good case of how this could happen and some of the factors that would lead to this. Now, please feel free to let me know what you think, and so leave a comment below and let me know how much income you think that Tesla will post, a profit or loss in Q4 of 2019. And if you are not yet subscribed to this video, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you can know when new videos are put out in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Happy motoring.